One morning when the local pastor pulled his car into the driveway of the filling station where I work. How many of you remember filling stations? Yeah, they've gone away. See, I was a 15-year-old young man with a summer job. My mom had had a 3-year bout with ovarian cancer. She'd been in and out of the hospitals. On several occasions had been critically ill and told she wouldn't leave the hospital. Each time she rallied, got better, went home. And as a 15-year-old young man, that's what I expected this time. The look on the pastor's face that day told me it wouldn't be that way. My mom died that day, and the effects of her illness and her death is what propelled me into medicine, and ultimately caused me to go into wellness medicine. I was an ambitious young man and wanted to fix the problem that had affected me so deeply, so I went to medical school hoping to find a cure for cancer. But in medical school I made a discovery that I hope a lot of you have already made, that it's much better to prevent a disease than to try to cure it. And that's why I'm here with you tonight to talk about how we can stop the diseases that are in progress before they get any further along. So that's just a little bit about me. I'm going to talk more about myself, but not too much, so don't worry, a little later. But let's find out a little bit about you. How many of you have high blood pressure? How many of you have diabetes? Thyroid problems? No thyroid problems? How many of you have just a little too much belly fat? Any of you just not sleeping well? Any of you tired all the time? Don't have the energy you should have? So we're not optimized, are we? Things aren't going so well. And what about our brains? How many of you are slipping and you know it? You just can tell. How many of you have a diagnosis of mild cognitive impairment or dementia or Alzheimer's? Excellent. So it's not that far down the track. So a lot of people worried, but nobody in critical condition yet. That's excellent. That's what I like to hear. Do we have a crisis with our healthcare system in this country?
Yes.
We do. And why do you say that?
Because we can't afford it, and
It's,
we can't afford it for one.
it's expensive, and it's getting worse at an amazing pace. Insurance goes up and up, just priced out of everybody's reach. What else? What else do we have?
The side effects of medication.
Side effects of medication, huge. Sometimes the cure is worse than the disease. What else? Well, what's the problem with our healthcare system in this country?
It's tough to get a diagnosis
Yeah, you wander around trying to figure out what's going on. And when you get a diagnosis, what's the common thing they do for you? Medication. They write you a script, put you on a medicine. They're not really much into exploring, trying to figure out the underlying cause. What's the root cause of what's going on here? What do we need to deal with so that this disease will stop instead of just making your numbers better by giving you medication? We have, and we're going to see a little video in a second, we have extremely expensive healthcare system, and we don't have good health. And I think you guys are all witnesses to that. You're not optimized, right? Things just aren't perfected, and as much money as we spend on healthcare, you would think that would be easy. You know, that's what I would pay all those dollars for health care if I was making a decision. But that's not what's happening with our money. And I have a little bit of a cynical viewpoint about our healthcare system and the health insurance industry. So forgive me, I'm going to be real straightforward. Is that okay with you guys? You don't want it sugar-coated, do you? No, you want it straightforward. We'll get to dinner quicker that way anyway. So that's how I like to give it. So this is my view of the healthcare system. It's a huge industry. Health insurance system is a huge industry. Two side-by-side industries dependent on each other. One depends upon the other for money. Money flows into the health insurance system from the government, from your employers, and from you. You're buying the insurance, paying premiums and all that. And then money flows out of there into the health care system. And the health care system, of course, provides you all the health care that they give you. And the money has to flow from one to the other, or the money stops flowing, and neither one of them make profits. What's the key link to make money flow from the health insurance system into the health care system? What makes money flow? Illness of who? That's right. Individuals who are sick is these two industries, their profit depends on this. And did they do better if you're less sick or more sick? More sick. That's what opens the spigot up. The money flows. If you're really sick, the money's just really pouring through. So I hate to be the one to point this out to you, but these two systems have counter incentives. They have financial incentives to not get you well, to keep you on the track to illness, and to get you to the point where you're critically ill, and so you're requiring a lot of services so that a lot of money is going to flow through. You know, and I'm not saying there's individuals that are actually planning this out, I wouldn't hope there was anybody like that, but that's the net effect. These are industries and they're for-profit for the most part. And even the not-for-profit, like big hospital systems, are there and they run like for-profit industries. And so, are we going to trust these two systems to take care of our future health? Sounds like a bad idea to me.
Yeah.
What choice do we have?
Take control of ourselves.
Choose a plant. That's good. Absolutely right. It's our responsibility to take control of our health. We can't depend on the healthcare system, health insurance system. All the time in my office I see people, but I've got health insurance. I've got this good health insurance. I've got Medicare Gold Plus, and I pay all these extra premiums so that I don't have to pay co-pays at the doctors. Won't this fix me? No. That's not going to fix you. You're going to get yourself fixed when you take charge of it. That's why we're here tonight. So let me tell you what my intention is tonight. You know, a lot of you are wondering, why does this nice man buy everybody dinner? It's just because I'm a nice guy. No, that's true, but that's not the whole of it. I do have a little motive, and I'm going to be real straightforward with you. At the end of this talk, I'm going to try to sign you up for consult. I'm just going to try to sign you up to come into my office to see me so I can get to know you. Tonight, you're going to get to know me, my philosophy, my view of healthcare and what we should be doing to fix people. And if that appeals to you, I want you to come to the office so I can get to know you. And we can talk about your specific case. We can talk about how we can work together to get you off the path of disease and onto the path of wellness. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody on board at this point?
Yeah, first.
Good deal. Good deal. So we better get moving or we won't get the dinner on time, all right? So this is the wellness gauge. We're going to see this gauge a couple of times, first in context of general health. And this is really simple, but I'm going to explain it to you a little bit. The green is as God made us. God gave us internal systems that work together well, they mesh well, and they're self-correcting. You give the right components and your body heals itself. And we'll go into why we're not healing ourselves later on. But this is things really working well, the green. The yellow is things aren't working so well. You have a diagnosis, too much belly fat, you're not sleeping well, you're taking medications. It goes from bad to worse. You get into the orange. This is where you're on several medications, you need procedures done, and you don't get any better. And you feel like year to year, month to month, you're just getting worse. You're going down the drain. And red, as I call it, riding in an ambulance. These are people who need acute intervention or they're going to suffer disability or death. So I have 4 real simple questions for you about the wellness gauge. First, where are you? And this is honesty time, self-evaluation time. Where are you? How many are in the green? This is show of hands. Excellent. How many of you in the yellow? And how many in the orange? Anybody in the red? I don't want to know about it. You're disqualified. You're disqualified from dinner tonight if you're in the red, but I can help you. I know CPR. So you're not in the red. All right, that's the first question. Second question, easiest question of the night, where do you want to be?
Green.
Green. Everybody wants to be in the green. Nobody has a health wish. We all want our health optimized. We want to be the best we can be, both now and in the future. How many of you agree with that statement? I want my health optimized. Easy, right? All right, third question about the wellness gauge. Which direction you're going? This is not wishful thinking, but based on your health-related behaviors in the last 6 months, are you going to the right? Are you getting better? Or are you going to the left? How many of you feel like you're moving to the right? You've made real concrete steps and you've done better. Excellent. And how many of you feel like you're going to the left and you're willing to admit it? All right, so the final question of the night on the wellness gauge, it's a 2-part answer, so listen carefully. Who's responsible to get you where you want to be? Good, sharp crowd. They're doing good, huh, April?
They are.
So and the second part of the question, who's going to help you get there? I'll give you a hint. That's right. That's right. Sharp crowd. You're going to make it work. That's the truth. So that's dealing with general aging issues and our health issues. But you guys are interested in the brain, right? Everybody's interested in the brain. That's what was up on Facebook or however you came to find us. How many of you saw us on Facebook? Is that how everybody found us? Anything else? I think that's all that was out there. How did you find us? Okay. Okay, word of mouth. We get a lot of people in by word of mouth. Internet. Word of mouth. Good. So word of mouth is our favorite kind of referrals because you know somebody that's doing well and prospering on our program. So That's perfect. So this is a little bit of a complicated slide, and you probably can't read it. It's a little small, that distance, but I'm just going to explain it to you. This is a typical brain function, and this was put out by National Institute of Aging in 2008. And there's a couple of things that aren't right about this. I'm just going to talk about the slide a little bit, and then I'll tell you what's not right about it. This is age down here, 40, 60, 80 years old. This is cognitive function. You plow along, you do pretty good, and then there's a gradual, slight downturn. I think a lot of you feel like you hit 40 and you started ticking down, and 60 you ticked down a little bit, and it's going down faster than that. But this is how they see, and how a lot of people still see cognitive changes. Some people hit a point here where you start separating from the mass, from everybody else. You have what's called mild cognitive impairment. And then you go down, it reaches a point where it's diagnosed as Alzheimer's. And then things change rapidly. We'll talk about in a minute why it's so rapid, why people go downhill so fast, and why it's so hard to stop that. All right, so this is typical, and what I'd say about this, normal age-related memory loss. I think that's not entirely accurate. My view of everything is that when you use your nervous system, when you're into optimizing it and you're using it, you can keep your mental functions that you want to use intact almost forever. There's a slight, if you're trying to remember stuff, yeah, that goes down a little bit, but other functions of your nervous system, and memory is only one of many things our nervous system does for us. But our nervous system is efficient. Yes, you're going to lose neurons as you age. That's normal, but you're going to make new synapses. And if you're working on doing everything so you can make those new connections to your neurons, you can stay sharp into aging. So I don't think that we have to accept a lot of decline. The second thing that this doesn't point out, and it's the most important point of the night, okay? There's something now we know called subjective cognitive impairment. And it says here, brain changes start decades before symptoms show. And this, we don't even know. Science does not know. Is this everybody? Are we all changing, and some people change enough they go into Alzheimer's, or is it only Alzheimer's people that are changing? Science does not know that. I'm going to take the cautious approach. I'm going to view myself at risk and do everything I can to optimize my brain so that that's not in my future, okay? So something happens up here called subjective cognitive impairment. If you get testing done, you feel like something's right, things aren't quite as good, I know that something's not, I'm worse this year than last year, I'm worried about my brain. You go and get testing done and they tell you you're all right. The problem with that is that that's a picture in time, a snapshot in time, and it tells you that you're still pretty good mentally. It doesn't tell you how fast you're going down and where you were to begin with. Because if you were up here mentally and you're at this point, you're going down rapidly, and a snapshot in time doesn't tell you where you're at. So sometimes you have to follow things along a little bit. But subjective cognitive impairment is the early warning system for mental decline. And if you feel like you're slipping, it's time to pay some attention, okay? And I'm not trying to worry everybody, because there is some normal stuff, some forgetfulness that you've had all your life. You know, you misplace your keys, or you forget somebody's name. You know, and maybe it seems like that's happened more often, but if the events are compressing themselves and you're noticing new things and you're worried about it, then it's time to take some action. Does that make sense? All right. All right, this is the bad news, and this is from, most of it's from the Alzheimer's disease website, and I don't agree with all of it. There's nothing that will prevent, reverse, or slow the progress of Alzheimer's disease. Everyone knows someone who's a cancer survivor. No one knows an Alzheimer's survivor. Okay, this is the view of major science, of the healthcare system, and even the Alzheimer's Association. 30 million patients who are mild cognitive impairment or Alzheimer's disease in 2012. Third leading cause of death. Wow. Talk about ballooning. 32 years from now, 160 million people in the U.S. That's huge. There are predictions that in the next 15 years, Alzheimer's alone is going to bankrupt our Medicare system, as if it didn't have enough problems already. So it's a huge problem. Epidemic in portions. No cures. Scariest fact out there. And women are at the center of this epidemic. They get 65% of patients, 60% of caregivers. More common than breast cancer. I love the emphasis on breast cancer, and I think it's appropriate, but we're missing some important things here. We should be just as worried about Alzheimer's disease for women. Sad state of affairs. Patients do not seek medical care because they think there's not a cure. They're afraid of the stigma, so they put it off and put it off. Their families put it off. Good, well-meaning family members cover for their spouses, significant others, fathers and mothers. Just a lot of wishful thinking, wishing this wasn't happening. and trying to make things seem better, so they don't seek medical care. Primary care providers and specialists don't offer much relief. There's a couple of medicines that help a little bit. Sometimes they send you to specialists who give you basically they do a bunch more testing and give you the same 2 medicines. So it's a sad state of affairs. So these are the signs and symptoms of Alzheimer's disease, and you just compress all these into a little bit of forgetfulness, word finding difficult, very common thing. The words don't pop into your mind like they used to. And that happens to everybody. If it's happening more often, it's a more severe problem, you should be concerned. Getting confused. I had a patient of mine that had been a patient a couple of years, came into my office, it's been 6 months ago, crying. She was going somewhere in town and just totally got lost. Forgot where she was going, got disoriented, and she was just, you can imagine what that do to you. She was sure that she was, and we did some testing on her, and we've done some interventions, and it's scary when something like that happens, but one of the signs. Behavioral problems. You know, it's not necessarily that you've turned mean. It might be something decaying in your brain, you know, or if you're sad all the time. It might not just be depression, it might be something else. And by the way, depression is a huge risk for Alzheimer's and cognitive impairment. Depression is your brain not working right, and the more your brain doesn't work right, the more you're at risk. I'm going to watch a little video now. I hope. There we go.
The American healthcare system is badly broken.
The present system doesn't work, and it's going to take us down. We need a whole new kind of medicine.
We're in the grip of a very big industry, and it doesn't want to stop making money.
If I spend 5 minutes with you and then put in one of these stents, I probably paid $1,500. For me to spend 45 minutes with a patient to try to figure out what their true problem is, probably get paid $15. It's a completely irrational system.
We don't have a healthcare system in this country. We have a disease management system.
We're spending almost twice as much in America as any other country on earth, but our lifespan isn't even in the top 20.
30,000 Medicare recipients die each year from care they didn't need. That's the equivalent of a jumbo jet crashing every single week. If the aviation industry killed as many people, we'd be up in arms.
The administration pays you based on how many patients you see. All right, who's next? If you try and buck the system, someone says, what can we do to get your productivity up? I'm not interested in getting my productivity up. I'm interested in helping patients.
We're seeing the military just being a microcosm of the problems society's having.
Soldiers' use of prescription drugs has tripled in the past 5 years.
This medications I was on.
Only by accepting that the American healthcare system is badly broken will we be able to seek out the escape fires, the potential solutions. There are answers.
One company has figured out how to lower healthcare costs by more than 40%.
We provide incentives for people to engage in healthier behaviors.
The Army Surgeon General directed that we establish the Pain Management Task Force to take a look at alternatives to narcotics.
I was skeptical, so skeptical.
I've gotten a lot of inspiration, a different perspective. There's a different way of doing things that is possible.
If I think about what healthcare could be like, it would have a lot more care in it.
The healthcare system is unsustainable. We're really mortgaging the future. Not just the health of healthcare, we're talking about the health of the nation.
So, we have huge health challenges facing us. We are not optimized in our bodies or our brains. The healthcare system is too broken, too worried about fixing itself to really deal with us. It's not going to change its model to adapt to us, to our needs, even though that's obviously what should happen. That's not happening. It's broken. What are we going to do about it? That's the question. Insurance. Does it solve any problems for us? If you have a disease, this is a mechanism for paying for the care that you need. If you want to get on track to wellness, if you want to intervene to optimize your life, basically insurance doesn't help you. A little window dressing, annual physical, some laboratory, not really fixing you though. So we're going to talk about the wellness gauge again. So let's talk about brains this time, okay? And we're not going to do the whole 4 questions, just one question. Where are you? This is optimized, your brain's working fine, no sign of any problem, you're perfectly happy with it. Yellow, yes, there's a problem. Orange, there's a severe problem. So how many of you are in the green? No sign of any problem. Excellent. How many in the yellow? You're concerned. Some of you have concerns. Good. Any of you really, really concerned? Good. Well, not good. I mean, thank you for your honesty. All right, so what goes on? What's the specifics with what goes on in our brain? Before we talk about that, let's just talk about the most complex and beautiful thing in the universe. What is that? The human body, and the very top of the most complex thing in the universe is the human brain. So I have what I call the 220 infinity rule. 2% of your body weight is your brain. 20% of the fuel in your body is used by your brain. So it's small, and it's 10 times more metabolically active than the rest of your body. Just that active, that much stuff going on in your brain. And infinity that's the number of potential synapses that you have. How many synapses you can make and learn stuff and rewire and learn new skills and learn to adapt yourself to conditions and situations. And we're going to talk a little bit about neuroplasticity. And that's the key to surviving well with your brain into the future, is optimizing your neuroplasticity. And there's a balance between the opposite of neuroplasticity, which is neurodegeneration, which is what Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and all the chronic neurodegenerative diseases are. So what happens in these diseases? So a healthy brain has a lot of tissue. This is the most amazing thing in the universe, and I could wax poetic about how complicated, how beautiful it is, and you just have to study it a little bit, and if you study it with open eyes, you'll be amazed. It's just, there's so much beauty to it. An Alzheimer's brain has a lot less tissue. I mean, that's obvious. Anybody can see that. An Alzheimer's brain has a lot of gunk in it that shouldn't be there, taking up space, keeping the neurons from connecting and interconnecting like they should. You get a certain amount of that gunk in there, things just shut down. They don't work well anymore. And an Alzheimer's brain does not use energy the same way. You remember I talked about the energy utilization of the brain. This is glucose uptake, and Alzheimer's brains have big holes where they just don't take up glucose very well. Parts of the brain are just idling instead of running, not working for you anymore. So this is the balance. And balance is important in all parts of our body. Our bodies are constantly remodeling and fixing themselves. And we don't think about this. One of the beautiful things God did when He made us and created us that we don't have to think about because it just happens automatically. The tearing down and the fixing up. Our bones. We think our bones is kind of being static. They're just kind of there. We count on them. But they heal, right? If we break them, they heal. They heal because they're constantly remodeling themselves. The bone's not there. The bone that you have this year is not the bone you'll have next year or the year after. You're always tearing down bone and making new bone. When women get osteoporosis, it's not just that they're losing bone, it's that things are out of balance. The building up part of the bone is not working as well as the tearing down part of the bone. If that happens, you're out of balance. When people get cancer, they're out of balance. You have a system in your body that takes bad cells out. That's part of your immune system. It's called immune surveillance. And a cell goes bad, either it's trying to turn cancerous, or it's just an old cell, or it's had some damage to it. Your body takes that out. So that's the tearing down part. And remodeling part is making new cells. So if that gets out of balance and you quit tearing the bad cells down and you don't have that balance and the immune surveillance is not working, a cancer cell does too much building and it's not checked. And the tearing down part doesn't balance, and so it just builds up. Same thing with our brains. We tend to think, wouldn't it be a great thing if our brain never tore itself down, if it didn't have any function to do that? Well, that's how we can survive into the future. You know, our brain, we have the most number of neurons when we're born. And we lose some neurons, we can make new neurons, but the most number of brains in our life are at birth. But we have hardly any synapses at birth. Synapses are the connections between neurons. So there are somewhere around 80 to 100 billion neurons in your brain. Billion, big number. And those neurons have as many as 10,000 to 20,000 synapses apiece. So the number of total connections in your brain goes into the trillions, infinity. It's just an amazing number. So as we age, if we didn't have the ability to take neurons out that we're not using, we wouldn't have the ability to learn new stuff. And so that's what your brain does. If you're not using a neuron, it's not very active, your brain makes some room to spare room and to spare resources. And so there's a balance there. and we get Alzheimer's disease, and we get neurodegenerative disease, and we just decline too rapidly because the balance in buildings get out of whack. The neurodegeneration is happening faster than the neuroregeneration. The neuroplasticity is not working for us. And so it's all about balance. We're going to talk more about that. Again, just another picture to show the difference between a healthy brain. If there's a balance between the building up and the tearing down, the brain stays healthy. If the tearing down gets out of whack, the result's obvious and not good. Nobody wants a brain that looks like that. Again, just more pictures to show the differences. And these two conditions, good brain, bad brain, lead to this. It leads to patients who are sick, ill, not doing well. Or to healthy patients. And this, of course, is showing physical health, but it's the same way with your brains. You can be healthy, vigorous, have a muscular brain, or you can have an old, infirm brain, a bedfast brain. So what can we do about it? Alzheimer's Association, a lot of specialists, a lot of primary care doctors have a hopeless attitude. What can we do about it? Well, there's a lot of new science on the horizon. There's a Dr. Bredesen, wrote a great book. I recommend it to all of you who have an interest in this, and if you are close to somebody who has cognitive decline or Alzheimer's, it's a must-read. It's called The End of Alzheimer's Disease. He's not just a fly-by-night internet guy that's trying to sell something. He's a serious scientist. He's a neurologist and a neuroscientist with hundreds of publications. And we're going to show some of his slides. We're going to talk about it. But what he found out is that science, and this is one of the problems with medical science, they want to do these what we call randomized controlled trials, and they eliminate all factors but one. Like, we want to take two groups of patients and we want to change only one thing. We want to see how this group of patients did, so we see if this medicine or whatever we're changing helps them. So take a bunch of people that are developing Alzheimer's disease or have Alzheimer's disease, you put 50 on nothing, or a placebo, and you put 50 on the new medications, and you see if the people do better. And there have been 256 trials like that for medicines for Alzheimer's disease. 255 of them have failed. No difference between placebo and the medications. So that's not working. And what Dr. Bredesen discovered is the reason is that nobody has one cause of Alzheimer's disease. It's multiple causes. There's a lot of holes in the roof. There's a lot of things you have to fix. If you fix enough things, it changes the balance. And you stop the downhill flow. You stop the neurodegeneration and turn it to neuroregeneration. Pretty simple in concept, right? And I believe it. I think it's going to work for people. And Dr. Bredesen and the patients that he has with him and the doctors who are working with him on moderate and less severe Alzheimer's disease and mild cognitive impairments, they haven't had a failure. That means everybody has arrested their decline at least or gotten better. In a lot of cases, people have gotten much better. So there's hope on the horizon. That's why I wouldn't be talking to you about this otherwise. Did I come and pay for your dinner so I can tell you how gloomy and sad things are? No, I'm here to tell you that there's hope. All right, this is a functional medicine slide, and what you need to notice from this is that all these diseases don't have one cause. And you could put Alzheimer's and cognitive decline up here. They're not, but depression and anxiety are. And these things are all the things that go wrong. These are the root causes of these diseases. And to different extents, each one of these diseases have different things, but all these things are basically involved in all of these to some extent. And that's what modern medicine doesn't take notice of. This is really important. Does that make sense to you guys? It's a little bit busy of a slide, but I like that it's real simple. There's a root cause to the problems that we have, to the medical problems we have. There's a root cause to why we're suffering cognitive decline. So what are the causes? What are the root causes of Alzheimer's? Again, there's 37 or 38 known causes. There's probably going to end up being about 50. We're just going to hit the high point a little bit because it's getting closer to dinner time. We've got to keep moving. So genetics, a huge thing. When I was in medical school, the saying was going around, your DNA is your destiny. Because we were all full of ourselves because we discovered the genetic component of a lot of diseases. Now we know better than that. Your DNA is not your destiny. There's something that's more important than genetics. It's called epigenetics. This is the switching mechanism that turns your DNA on and off. And the good news is that you're in control of your epigenetics. You're not in control of your genetics. Your parents were. They got together and made you. and you got stuck with the result. But your epigenetics are in your control. You can change things. You can make things different. So genetics are a huge factor. And as far as Alzheimer's disease, there's one gene that's responsible for a lot of Alzheimer's called the APOE4 variant. About 20% of people have it, and it increases your risk of Alzheimer's. The good news is the people who are most responsive to Dr. Bredeson's protocol are the APOE4 people. So it just proves that it's not written in your genes. You can prevent it. It makes you more likely to get it. It means you have to get on the program quickly to prevent it, but you're going to get the most improvement if you get on a program. Inflammation. There's a book out there called Brain on Fire, written by somebody that had brain in a very specific part of had inflammation in a very specific part of her brain, and it basically shut her down, turned her into schizophrenic, just because of the malfunction of a tiny part of her brain, one kind of a connector in her brain that's getting inflamed. But imagine what goes on in your brain if your whole brain is inflamed. The short story in inflammation is inflammation is given to us. It's what we have to fight off things that are trying to hurt us. Whether we have a wound that we need to heal, or we have a bacteria that's trying to eat us up, inflammation is there. It's basically consists of cells, factors, and molecules that are there to destroy invaders. Okay, and if you have a wound and you get cut and it gets all red around that, that's inflammation going on. That's your body making sure that the healing factors are there and that any invasive bacteria can't get a start there. Doesn't always succeed, but your body's pretty darn good at it. Most of the time you get a cut, it doesn't get infected. It can sometime. But all that's happening, and that's these cells, molecules, and factors that are there to kill invaders, okay? So if you have, the problem is these days, we get wounded sometimes, but we don't need this overactive system that we have. And we get inflammation turned on because of stress, bad diet, because of toxins, and the inflammation gets turned on. And these factors that are there to kill cells, kill invading things, are circulating, and they're circulating in our brains. And you can see the result of that. You have inflammation going on in your brain. These factors that are there, they're toxic things made to kill things in your body. And they land in the wrong place and they kill brain cells. Not the result we need. Diet. Sugar is inflammatory. This simple realization will change more lives than anything else. Our addiction to sugar has to go away. Has to go away. Sugar is inflammatory. It alone causes so much disease you wouldn't believe it. And you're going to feel so much better not addicted to sugar. Now, I won't say you can never go to Cold Stone Creamery again, but it becomes a holiday thing, a rare thing, not a bowl of ice cream every night kind of thing. All right, we need to really get away from that. Dang it. But you're going to feel better. I guarantee. I just don't hit the button quickly enough. So how we wire our brain. The fire and wire of the brain, I already mentioned depression as one of the causes of dementia. The way we think, our patterns of thinking, can be toxic. And those toxic patterns can make us worse. And the parts of our brain that we use get strengthened. Neurons that fire together wire together. So if you're worrying all the time, you're overutilizing that part of your brain. You're underutilizing other parts of your brain. And when you underutilize those other parts of your brain because you're worrying all the time, or you're depressed all the time, you're perseverating on some thought, focusing on something you shouldn't be focused on, the rest of your brain's idling. So your brain's checking, and since you have limited resources for your brain to go on, if you're not using part of your brain often enough, your body's going to start pruning those cells out. So we need to control the way we think. It's a huge part of what's wrong with our brains. It's all about balance. So I mentioned before the neurodegeneration and the neuroregeneration. And this happens to people because there are good factors, call them trophic factors. They help us out. These are good things, nutrients, good positive factors that help our brain. All right, and we know what those things are. We know what dozens, maybe hundreds of those things are. We probably don't know all of them yet. And there are toxic factors, things that are bad for our brains and our bodies. And I mentioned some of those already. Inflammation is one of them. A lot of toxins and poisons out there in our world that are bad for our brains. Stress is bad for our brains. So bad, so many ways. Number 2 point, if you want to live long and well, take care of your stress. Quit eating sugar. Take care of your stress. Two key points. So the more we stack on the bad side, the more we tend to start sliding the wrong way. The more we stack on the good side, the more we tend to start sliding the right way. So it's that simple. Doesn't sound like rocket science. It took science a long time to figure this out, though. So why does this happen? So this, we're going to move quickly over this. This is the nerdy part of this, okay? The part that we have to move by quickly. But this is what causes Alzheimer's disease. This is called APP, amyloid precursor protein. Amyloid precursor protein. If you've done any research about Alzheimer's, even in the lay press, it talks about amyloid beta. That's what this is right there, amyloid beta. That's what causes Alzheimer's disease. It's what gets in your brain. The slide I showed earlier with all the gunk in it, that's amyloid beta, gunking your brain up. So this molecule is sitting in your brain. Everybody has it. It's in your neurons. And it either goes one way, which these are what we call trophic factors. If it's cleaved here, these are good factors that help your brain. And they also, once you start doing this, it causes you to cleave more at this one called the alpha site, all right? And if you cleave at the alpha site, you have a good brain. Neural regeneration is going to predominate, okay? On the other hand, if you have enough toxic factors, a lot of stuff going on, you cleave at the wrong sites. These are called the beta sites. You make all these things. Each one of these things are bad for you, and amyloid beta reproduces itself. Once you have it around and it's floating around the neurons, it's going to cause more neurons to be cleaved the wrong way. So you can see how delicate the balance is. And this is why I mentioned earlier about how cognitive decline, you go down a bit and then it just plummets down. This is have you ever seen a dump truck? And the dirt sticks in it. Maybe you guys haven't, but I grew up as a boy in West Texas, and there was nothing more fascinating than watch a dump truck dump. But it raises, it raises, it raises, and then all of a sudden it all lets go. All slides out. And that's what happens here. You do the bad things, enough of the bad things go on, you seem to tolerate it, and then you go downhill so fast you can't stop it. That's how Alzheimer's disease does. And this is why, because amyloid beta begets itself. Amyloid beta is toxic, it poisons your brain, but it makes more of itself. It's like a virus reproducing itself. In fact, they even call this a prionic loop, which is named after a virus. So that's the science of what goes on here. And all these things cause, and it's real interesting that there's slides you can see, and I've seen it in some of the lectures I've been to. It shows what they do in a laboratory, and it shows a neuron going out and looking for synapses, and it finds another neuron, this little dendrite finds another neuron, makes a synapse, and it's just real time, all these stuff's going on in your brain all the time. You put some amyloid beta in there, and you put some of these factors in with this neuron, it pulls back. It's no longer trying to make new synapses. And that results, this neurite retraction there, and the amyloid plaques, and results in what we call neurofibrillary tangles. In mitochondria, this is the energy production part of Alzheimer's disease. High energy thing, if it loses its ability to utilize energy, it's going down. Just like the old style cars back when we had air filters and carburetors, before everybody had injectors. Your air filter gets all clogged. I'm using all these old analogies. This is a good crowd, you understand. If your air filter really got clogged up because you didn't want to maintain it or anything, you lose power and you try to accelerate and it kind of coughs and gives out because it doesn't have power anymore. So if that happens to your brains, your nervous system, your brain just says, again, it's conserving resources. We don't have enough resources. We're going to take care of some of these neurons. We're just going to clean them up so that the resources we have, we can utilize more efficiently. You have enough of that neuron loss, you don't have a good brain anymore. Is that perfectly clear to everybody? See what's going on? Sort of. This is complicated. The science part of it is complicated, but and that's one of the reasons why it took a neuroscientist this long to figure this out. And this is what I like about Dr. Bredeson's protocol. The traditional, and again, we can talk a lot about what goes wrong, why isn't this market, why isn't it in the press yet, why isn't Alzheimer's Association all about this? Because there's a lot of inertia in the whole medical system. And what has to happen is a randomized controlled trial where they have to prove this up, prove that this works. And it's going to take hundreds of patients to even get any interest, and it's going to be a bigger trial after that. And we're talking about 10 or 15 years from now. The people I know who have cognitive impairment don't have 10 or 15 years to wait. And that's what I appreciate about Dr. Bredesen. He's out there, he's given us a protocol based on the fact that he's done it on a few hundred patients now with great success. And he's tried to get it published, and he's got some little preliminary things published, but his proposal for randomized controlled trial was shot down, even though he's a neuroscientist, he's got hundreds of publications, he knows what he's doing, but he's willing to go out there and give the data that he has to the public. And this is what people need to know. So these are all the things that we know affect the balance. And this, again, is more nerdy stuff, more stuff you don't need to know, but it's extremely complicated. And this is basically why all the Alzheimer's drugs they've tried haven't worked. There's nothing that touches enough of these factors. Some of them do 2 or 3 or 4 of these things, but it's not enough to change the balance. So it's not, the solution is not going to come in a pill bottle for Alzheimer's disease. And the solution is not going to depend on the healthcare system. Not at this point in time. A roof with 36 holes. A lot of different factors out there. If a drug catches one of these holes really good, it comes along and does this. If there's a rainstorm, is your floor still going to get wet? Absolutely. And that's the problem. You've got to patch a bunch of the holes, and then once you do that, it changes the whole dynamic, and the rest of the roof fixes itself. We don't have to do this. All right, so what goes wrong? What goes wrong with these systems? What are the critical things that we do in our life that causes us to slide one way or the other? What are the critical balance factors? Our food. We don't give enough attention to our food. How many of you are on the optimal diet, perfect diet? My congratulations to you if you are. I'm not. I think a lot of people that I see that are really smart that have studied this have an 80 or 90% or 95% rule about the perfect diet. They try to get that close to the perfect diet. And that's a great place to start. So we need to eat a better diet. We don't eat thinking about what nutrients do I need to supply my body so that our God-given healing mechanisms can go to work for me. We don't think about it that way. Why else would we eat, though? And my philosophy about all these things, it's difficult. Lifestyle changes to fix your health aren't the easiest way to do it. It's much easier to take a pill. It just doesn't work. Lifestyle changes are difficult, but I've spent too many years not optimized. And if I want to have the best health future, which is what I want, how many of you want the best health future? How many of you think that sounds like a good idea? Right, who wouldn't be on board with that? That's like you want to be in the green zone or not. It's the same question, almost the same answer. Yes, I want the best health future. I've spent too many years not optimized. I can't expect the best health future unless if I pull out all the stops right now, all hands on deck. I want to optimize everything. Everything I can change, I want to turn it to the best possible place so I can have the best health future. I want to be there for grandkids. My first one's going to come any day now, by the way. So, yeah, soon. Due today, we'll see how soon this happens. But I'm glad it's not happening right now. I might be a little more nervous that we're going on. So what we eat is tremendously important. We're not going to do well unless we control that. Bad information. You guys have all seen the App Buster on an infomercial. And that's representative of a whole industry, advertising, marketing stuff in order to sell it to you. Almost all of them are good ideas, and almost all of them are way over promoted, way over promised. What they're going to give you to get you to pick up the phone, call the number, and have the App Buster delivered to your home tomorrow. You know, but that's only the start of the bad information. What about the pharmaceutical companies? Great commercials, right? They're all the same. They tell you the name of the medicine, and then the guy goes on and on and on. He starts with little things, you know, the toenails might crack or something like that, and how do they all end? Death. So he tells you all this horrible thing. So these people spend billions of dollars marketing their pharmaceuticals. How does this work? What's going on the screen while he's telling you all this? That's right. That sums it up. Just happiness and joy all over the place, just every way they can contain it. And so what your brain remembers from this a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, when you or somebody you know needs one of these medicines, your brain remembers the name of the medicine and that visual. And so you have a positive association. So you're being manipulated by the pharmaceutical industry and by every other industry to make you want their drugs. So you need to be clear of that. So we need some good sources of information. Stress, physical stress, chemical stress. How many of you believe we live in a toxic world? We do. Let me talk to you a little bit if you don't believe that, because there's actually a lot of toxins out there. And then emotional stress. Again, the number 2 bit of advice today is deal with stress in your life. If you want to live long and well, if you want to optimize your future health, deal with stress. It's not always easy to do it, but it can be done. So as we age, our body building, our building up hormones go down, our tearing down hormones go up. It's the natural thing that happens, and it changes the way our bodies look because of these hormonal changes. Not being proactive, not taking charge of our own health, like this guy, walking the dog. So what do we do in Restore Wellness Center? We try to put the pieces together. It's complicated. Lifestyle things seems like they should be easy, but it's not always that easy. And we put everything into a program. And this program, whether you put these things together and the action you take determines do you end up like this man, or do you get on a program and you end up like this man. So the choice is yours, the responsibility is yours, and that's what we try to do, is help people make the right choices. 4 pillars of health: detoxification, diet, nutrition, exercise. Vitally important. Remember we talked about epigenetics? Exercise is one of the huge epigenetic factors. If you don't turn the switch, you're not going to optimize your health in the future. And hormone balancing. And all these are the pillars that support the roof, the brain. All the stuff you do to take care of your body helps take care of your brain, and there's other things you can do beside to help your brain. So you can't take care of the brain and not take care of your body. It comes in a package. You guys all pretty sharp, you know that. You separate your brain from your body, you've got real problems. And then spiritual. People who live long and well have a purpose for living. And that needs to be evaluated. Why do I want to live long and well? And that undergirds your motivation and helps you complete the action plan you need to take. To know that you're going to help with this investment in your health is going to help you fulfill your purpose. Okay, I love this parable. The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is now. I love it because I love trees. So why am I in Abilene? Good question. Yeah.
Should be an ordinance.
Yeah, someplace like that. So, and this is true of our health. That's why this sign's up there. The best time to take care of our health was 20 years ago. Well, we didn't do it, so when's the next best time? Now. Goes without saying. Don't be like this fat cat. I don't know if we need a new clicker or a new... That's easier to do than a new hand. So, wake up and stop procrastinating. This guy is the guy that waits till tomorrow to take action. He's not going to live long and well. So, in our programs, we've put it all together because it's a complicated thing. I showed you the slide, a lot of different components to it. So we put it together in a program, and we pulled together the answers for you. What are the actions I need to take? What do I need to change about my lifestyle, about my life? And what do I need to know to make this work for me, not just now, but forever? From now on, what do we need to do? And we put it all together in a program and a curriculum. So, because this is not a typical visit at the doctor. You don't come to me and I write you a prescription and hand it to you. You go to the pharmacy and fill it. This is where I'm empowering you and guiding you, being your mentor and your guide to get on the track to wellness, to get on the path to becoming like Jack LaLanne, the bodybuilder, both for your body and for your brain. All right? That's what I do. So the curriculum is vitally important, and education is a huge part of transferring that power to you so that you can take care of your health and stay on the path to wellness in the future. How many of you think it sounds like a good idea? How many of you are ready to sign up for consult? If I told you it was really, really economical. So, when you go see your doctor, how much does it cost?
I went yesterday for my ear problems, and it cost me $150.
$150. Okay. So nationwide, the average is $200 to $300 for a simple visit to the doctor. And how long does your doctor spend with you?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. National average is 3 to 7 minutes. So when you come into my office, how long should I spend with you? An hour? Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes, exactly right. Now that's how long we need. And what should it cost you? This is America now. Don't anybody say free. Okay? Whatever you can afford. Insurance is not helping us. So can you predict the future of your health care? You know, we're all thinking of those people who got cancer and they shouldn't have or died young of a heart attack. But those are the exceptions to the rule. The rule is those things happen to people because they didn't do the things ahead of time. They didn't plant that tree. They weren't doing the right things to nurture their health, and they set themselves up for failure. When I was in private practice, I had a middle-aged man named Lonnie, had diabetes and high blood pressure, and I talked to Lonnie about getting on the treadmill. We're going to do a stress test on Lonnie to see how his heart was doing. He says, "Doc, no, we don't want to do that today. We'll do that next time." And so next time he came in to see me, he's sitting on the exam table and said, "Doc, after I left your office last time, 2 weeks later, I had a massive heart attack. It was so bad they had to fly me to Baylor Hospital. My heart was so weak there, they had to put an aortic balloon pump in just to support the action of my heart. I was so weak. And from that balloon pump, I got a clot in my leg, and I lost my leg. That's one of the crutches that were leaning against the wall. I was a month in the hospital, a month in cardiac rehab. I only got out 2 weeks ago. My life will never be the same." So Lonnie failed to take action. He's experienced the consequences of it. Lonnie lived about another 6 months, and they weren't very good months. Had a very low quality of life. So sometimes when things happen to you, it's too late to take action. The time to take action is now. Can you predict the future of your health care? Yes. Get the right testing done. Determine the true root cause. What's going on? Focus on the cause and not the symptoms. Correct the dysfunction. Address the whole body. Systematic approach. And a mentor to guide you through it. So you can predict the future of your health care. So all we offer is lifestyle programs, complete wellness evaluation. So consultation, a wellness evaluation, and a plan of action. So my usual charge for an hour consultation is $287. We're going up on the price real soon, by the way. But for you guys who've been here tonight, I've already done a lot of education work that I had to do at that visit, so we give you a special discount, $127. And if you have a spouse or significant other that comes in with you to get a consult, only $47 more. And for those of you who are willing to sign up tonight, it's only going to cost you $87 for your consultation. Does that sound fair?
Yes.
I think it's more than fair. So just a few little quick things to say and we'll be done. My office staff is going to come around. But the first thing is, can I help everybody? Obviously not. That's the bad news. The good news is that you self-select. The people that I can help are the people who are willing to take action. All right, so come to my office and we'll talk about it and we'll figure it out. And I've actually had a few people say, "I'm sorry, I don't think my programs are for you." And those are people who basically wanted me to write a script or do something for them to fix them. They want people that were willing to say, "This is my responsibility, I'm going to take action." So the second thing we need to talk about is what to expect when you come into my office. So when you come in, you're going to meet the rest of my office staff, you're going to get a tour of the office. Before you come in, you're going to fill out a lot of paperwork out, more than you filled out for most doctors. This is really important. While you're getting a tour, I'm going to go through your paperwork, and then when we sit down, you and I'll sit down knee to knee, and we'll talk through your health history, the problems, what's going on with your life, what's the likely underlying cause of the problems that you're having, and what we can do to address that, and how my programs can help you address this, okay? So that's what we're going to do in the office when you come in. I have some real simple rules for when you come into the office. And the first is, fill out your paperwork ahead of time, okay? Because I'm setting aside time for you, and if you don't fill out your paperwork, you're going to have to do it before I see you. So we're going to have less time together. Second rule has to do with the same thing. That is, come on time. If you don't come on time, you're going to take away from the time that I have with you. The third rule I have is if you have a spouse or significant other, you need to bring them along with you. And it's real easy. Why? Floyd, if Marilyn was going to see a cardiologist, would you go along with her? Why? Right. That's right. That's exactly right. You want to support her and help her. That's a great decision. That's the right answer. So when you come in to see me, I feel like it's just as important of a consultation. And maybe even more important, because this could be the consultation that keeps Marilyn out of the cardiologist's office. You know, we're going to try to predict the future of health care by taking care of the underlying causes of what's going wrong. All right, so real simple rules. Question asked often, and I'm going to address this a little bit, but let me just say, people ask, do I take insurance? It's not that we don't take insurance. Insurance just doesn't pay for the kind of services we do. I spend a lot of time with people, and insurance wants to bundle all that together and say, that's an office visit. You know, the doctor gets $87 or something like that. I spend a lot of time on you and on your program and setting everything up. And I have a lot of office staff that won't be, so they just don't pay for what we do, all right? And the second question I get a lot is, can I afford your programs? The answer to that's yes. We have a lot of programs, all different sizes. We can make it work for you. We have a lot of single working moms that get on programs and prosper, do really, really well. So we have programs that will work for you. So you guys all ready to sign up? I hope so. Hope to see you all in the office, okay? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And by